Good morning, everyone. So today we're going to be working on shoulders, kind of getting into our 3D gait mechanics in the half kneeling. If you have sensitive knees in that half kneeling position, I suggest getting a blanket, towel, rubber mat, folding it up, or doing the same movements in your chair. Nice dining room chair, flat bottom, easy to get into those half kneeling positions without putting the knee directly on the floor. So with all that, let's get started. So we're going to start with some staff work for the shoulders. Going to get a nice shoulder width grip on the staff. This is where I want to imagine that we're trying to bend or break the staff. And I want that bend to come from spiraling through the wrists, elbows, and shoulder blades. So elbow pits kind of spiraling up towards the ceiling, shoulder blades spiraling down, packing towards the back hips. We're going to start with the staff in front at our waist, getting into some crocodile breath. Nice inhale in through the nose, filling up that abdominal wall. Again, I want to feel that expansion of that abdominal wall like a balloon on the inhale. Exhale, drawing navel up and into the spine, and then filling right back up into that inhale breath. And we'll take about 3 to 5 nice slow breaths. And with each inhale, see if you can slowly build a little bit more expansion into that abdominal wall. We're going to continue with that breath, and now we're going to start adding in some pelvic tilts. On your inhale, as you fill up that belly, allow the pelvis to tilt forward. It's going to create that nice sway in the back. The belly is going to open up. On our exhale, continuing to draw that navel up and in, but now we're also scooping the tailbone. You can imagine that your sacrum is the palm of your hand, which would make your fingers your tailbone. As you exhale, we're moving those fingers like we're trying to touch the wall out in front. Then on that inhale, coming back into that nice anterior tilt, big sway in the back. I want to make sure that we're avoiding pinch or pain in that low back. And just kind of feeling into that movement. I have a little bit of tightness and stiffness as I go into that inhale breath, moving forward. Exhale, scoop actually feels pretty good today. And then on our next inhale, as we exhale, we're going to start working into the shoulders. So again, we got that nice bend, active bend, like you're trying to break that staff in two. As you exhale and scoop, we're bringing elbows up, pulling them up towards ears. Inhale, let the shoulders soften forward. Bring that breath into the belly. Exhale, navel in, scoop as we pull. And with each one, I'm seeing if we can get those elbows a little bit further back. I want to really maintain that active scoop. The more I scoop, the more my rib is going to draw down while I pull those elbows back. What I want to avoid is letting that pelvis tilt forward, which sends that rib out and getting a big sway in the back as I pull back. This is a lot of extension just at in the spine at the T12 L1 junction. And I want to keep that engaged and closed. For nice 10, this can be up to 20 reps to really work into the shoulders. Nice squeeze at the back. I also want to try to maintain a nice tall spine. I want to avoid my head pushing forward, extending out, that chin coming out. I want to try to keep the head, the spine moving up towards the ceiling. We'll go ahead and drop the shoulder arms down. We're going to move the staff to behind the body. Palms facing backwards, still spiraling those elbows and shoulders. Elbow pits should be spiraling forward. We're bending the staff away from the body. Continuing with that nice inhale into the belly. On our exhale, we're lifting the elbows up as we spiral, trying to break the staff away from the body. Inhale as we let the staff down. And I'm going to allow the shoulders to internally spiral. Let them roll forward, getting a rounded upper back. And then we're going to roll them back as we try to bend or break that staff. And then lift elbows up to the ceiling. Inhale as it comes down. Internally round those shoulders. See how much you can get a stretch into that upper back. We can also start to add in more of that scoop to see if you feel some rounding into that lower back. But then as we externally spiral, feel those shoulder blades round down and back, and then lift elbows up as we continue to hold that good core engagement. Again, 10 up to 20, nice slow reps, not forcing it. Squeezing into that last little bit of range of motion with control. And we're going to flip our palms so the palms are facing forward. And I want to do that same rounding shoulder to open chest and lift. So nice inhale, shoulders round, exhale as we the shoulders round back, bending that staff away from the body and lifting elbows up towards the ceiling. Nice slow on the inhale back down. Again, trying to maintain a nice tall spine, keeping that head from extending out. And with each one, nice, slow, controlled squeeze into that end range without forcing it. Definitely want to avoid going into stress or pain. And then we're going to go ahead and set the staff down to the side. We're going to come all the way down into our quadruped position, coming down to hands and knees. Spreading hands nice and wide, grounding palms, extending elbows fully. Want to tuck the toes in the back, especially that big toe. And we're going to get back into our pelvic tilt. So nice inhale, feel that belly open up to the floor, big sway in the low back. Exhale, scoop. And I want to just feel that into that low back area. I'm not letting that movement go up into my shoulders just yet. But I want to feel that nice scoop. And now we're going to start to add in a little bit of foot mobility with this scoop. So as we exhale, we're going to rock forward. We can kind of get into the wrists a little bit, loading forward into both wrists as we scoop on the exhale. Inhale as we turn that tailbone up to the ceiling, allowing that belly to drop down, and then letting the hips sink back to the heels. Feel into that big toe joint. Exhale as we scoop, coming forward. Inhale as we feel the pelvis tilt and the belly open up as we sit back into the big toe joints. So I want to feel a little bit of load into the wrists as I come forward on that exhale. And then I want to feel that load into the big toe joints, arch of the foot. Can you feel that nice little stretch, mobilizing the big toe? On the next one, as we sink back hips to heels, we're going to sink back into light tension on the feet. And then we're going to do some windshield wipers from here. Rolling from that big toe letting the heels roll out, seeing if you can get all the way out to that pinky toe and then back in. And as you're rolling those heels in and out, we can slowly let the hips sink a little deeper as long as it's not getting into pain. So I'm trying to find how much can I kind of mobilize and stretch the toes all the way out to that pinky toe and then back to the big toe. This is a great place to kind of notice, how does the right foot feel compared to the left? Is one side tighter, more restricted than the other, especially at the big toe joint? Then we'll come back up to our starting point. Even weight on hands and knees, coming back into that breath with pelvic tilt. Inhale, pelvis tilts to the floor. Exhale, scoop. But now we're going to work that scoop all the way up the spine. So as we scoop, continue to scoop. Allow it to move up to the shoulders, pressing into the floor like you're trying to reach that spine between the shoulder blades up to the ceiling, and then continuing to let it move across the top of the head so that we're now trying to touch our tailbone to our forehead at this imaginary point right in the middle. Nice active scoop, actively trying to reach the forehead. Then inhale, drawing that pelvis down. Allow that movement to work up the spine one vertebrae at a time. As it gets to the chest, the sternum reaches down to the floor and the head comes up last. Nice exhale as you scoop. Feel that wave moving up the spine slowly. Exhaling as you scoop, moving into cat. Inhale as your pelvis tilts to the floor, coming into cow. Good. So we're coming back to our starting point. Now we're going to bring hands forward. Nice spread hands, downward pressure through the hands. Elbows are active and straight. I want to get back into doing pelvic tilts from this extended position. So inhale, pelvis tilts to the floor, belly opens up. Exhale as we scoop. See if you can feel some of that mobility into that low back. But at the same time, feel those shoulders engaged with the floor, pressing down actively. And on your next inhale, as you open up, exhale, drawing navel in, we're going to drop that sternum to the floor. So I'm scooping and reaching the sternum to the floor at the same time. Inhale, comes back up, pelvis tilts forward. Exhale, scoop as you drop. Now with that scoop, exhaling as we reach, same thing as when we were working with the staff. I want to feel that rib cage pulling in as I'm dropping my sternum to the floor. I don't want that rib dropping down, extending down to where we get that sway in the back and that rib is extended. And that can be a really hard thing to feel and work on at the same time. We're going to bring the hands back up to our quadruped, and we're now going to kind of get into some bear positioning. So from here, we're going to lift the knees off the floor. And I want to work on getting into that same position with the shoulders that we were just in. So knees on the floor, child's pose position. We're going to work into that, but knees are off the floor. So I'm reaching my sternum down. I'm pushing through the hands, reaching the sternum towards the floor. On the exhale, inhale, we're kind of rocking back up to nice tabletop with the spine. Exhale, push, see if you can get into it a little bit further. I'm keeping my knees bent for right now. I'm really just working that push through the shoulders. Can I reach that sternum down? Can I feel those shoulders working? My hands nice and engaged with the floor. After doing a few of those, we can come up, take hands off the floor, kind of roll them out, check in. We're going to come back and do that same thing, but now we're going to get into the back of the legs. So spread hands, grounded palms, lifting knees. Now, as we reach and drop that sternum to the floor, we're going to get as deep as we can and hold it. And now we're going to work gas pedal. I'm going to actively reach one heel to the floor, actively trying to lengthen my knee, like I'm trying to reach the back of my knee to the wall behind. Opposite leg is soft. And I'm going to gas pedal going back and forth, switching to the other leg, reaching the heel to the floor, extending that knee, working back and forth. Nice inhale as you let one knee soften. Nice exhale as you start to extend the other knee. Then inhale as you let that knee soften. Exhale as you extend. Notice how does this feel on the left leg compared to the right leg. And as you're getting into it, can you start to push through the palms and drop a little deeper into the chest as you're reaching those heels and extending the knees? That should get a little bit deeper stretch into the back line of the leg. And we'll rock forward, bring the knees down to the floor, come off the wrists. Now we get to get into our half kneeling position. So in half kneeling, toes are tucked on that back leg. I want that big toe tucked underneath. The knee is directly under the hip. Hip is directly under the shoulder. Shoulder is directly under the head. We're coming back into that nice breath with a tilt, but we're only working that tilt on one side. So inhale, belly opens up, big sway in the back. Exhale, navel draws into spine as we scoop. Now, as we scoop, we should feel some stretch down the front of that leg, especially if we got the big toe tucked and loaded. Inhale, allow it to open up as much as you can. Exhale, feel that scoop. Can you feel that nice stretch through the front of the thigh? Can you feel your glute tightening up and contracting in the back? I also want to feel some load into that big toe. As I scoop, I can feel that big toe digging in as if I'm about to jump or sprint out of this position. Once we get about 5 up to 10 reps, we're going to switch, do the same thing on the other side. So again, knee under hips, under shoulders, under head. I want to try to maintain that nice stacked position. Big toe is tucked and loaded. Inhale, fills up the belly, big sway in the back. Exhale, navel into spine. As I'm moving at the pelvis, I'm not moving a whole lot at the head and the shoulder. So as I'm scooping, I'm not leaning forward or leaning back. I want to try to hold this stacked position, and that pelvis is just rotating under it without moving forward and backwards. Notice if one hip feels tighter than the other hip. Notice if your toe, your foot feels tighter and more restricted than the other foot. My left hip feels a little bit less mobile. Big toe on the left side feels a little bit more restricted. It's a little harder, just a little bit harder on this side today. After we match our reps, we're going to switch back to the first side. We're going to do the exact same thing, but now we're going to add a drag to our scoop by lunging forward. So inhale, belly opens up, big sway in the back. Exhale as we scoop. And now I want to add a lunge. but my lunge is going to pull me out of my scoop. I want to try to resist that as much as I can. I'm not going to be able to resist it completely, right? As I move forward, my hip is going to change position, but I'm actively holding that scoop, continuing to exhale as I lunge forward, feel it slowly draw you out of that scoop. Then we're going to come back, exhale, acquire that scoop again, and drag it back out. I'm inhaling as I come to the top. I am exhaling into that scoop as I drag. That should create this nice traction stretch down the front of the thigh. Again, I want to keep that big toe tucked and loaded as I'm going through this. There is a connection from that hip flexor to that big toe. I want to keep them connected on this movement. And then we'll switch and do the same thing on the other side. So again, big toes tucked, inhale, open belly, pelvis forward, exhale, scoop, actively hold that scoop as you drag into the lunge. This side is noticeably more tighter, especially as I get into that lunge. I definitely feel that tension difference in this left hip. Now, when I feel differences from one side to the other, I don't want to try to force them into balance. The more I try to force mobility, the more likely that my body is going to actually take that mobility away because it's going to feel under threat. So I need to coax it. I need to lubricate it. I need to just groove it. And my nervous system, if I do it in a way that my nervous system feels safe, it will let me reacquire more and more mobility. But it takes time and it takes patience and practice. We'll switch back to the first side. Still got the big toe tucked and loaded. We're still working our inhale breath into scoop. So all of that is going to remain. Now we're going to add in a reach. So my right knee is down. I'm going to be reaching with my right hand. I'm inhaling. Belly goes forward, big sway in the back as I scoop. I'm now reaching up like I'm trying to touch the ceiling with my fingertips, but I don't want that to take away from my scoop. I got to lock that scoop in. And similar to the lunge, I'm dragging or drawing that scoop, the stretch up into my fingertips. Nice inhale into the belly, exhale, scoop and reach. Now, as I'm reaching, I want to feel this shoulder elevating up. I'm trying to draw that abdominal viscera upward towards the ceiling. But what I want to avoid is my opposite shoulder dropping down. I don't want side bend on the opposite side. I want to maintain the length on this side while getting longer on this right side. So I don't want drop. That shoulder should relatively stay in the same position, but my opposite shoulder is lifting with that scoop. And then we'll switch, do the same thing on the other side. So big toes tucked, inhale into the belly, exhale, navel into spine as we scoop, and then adding in that nice reach, inhale, let it soften, exhale, activate that scoop first, and then draw that stretch upward as you reach to the ceiling. Whichever hip feels a little tighter is probably going to continue to feel tighter as we move it up into that abdominal viscera compared to the other side. My left hip feels a little bit tighter, although I also feel it loosening up. I've gained some mobility just from what we've done so far. Good. We're going to switch back to the first side, but we're also going to go ahead and grab our staff. So I want to place the staff on the front of our shoulders. We can then cross our hands shoulder to shoulder to to keep the staff in place. And I want to lift my elbows up to shoulder height. I don't want to be down here. I want to stay up here. And the reason I'm doing this is I want to, by keeping that staff touching shoulder to shoulder, I'm able to keep my shoulders square together. So we're going to get into that same breath. Inhale into the belly. Pelvis tilts forward, sway in the back. As we exhale, draw navel in and scoop. And now we're adding in rotation. Want to turn shoulders together towards that front leg, the leg that is up. Squeeze into it. Now, I have the staff to kind of give me some awareness of my position. I don't want that staff to start to tilt. I want to keep it on the same plane, level with the floor. I also don't want it to pop off a shoulder. If I have one shoulder that's reaching more than the other, I might lose contact. I want to keep my shoulders square together. I'm moving the shoulders together like I'm trying to face my shoulders to the wall at my side. Inhale, bringing it back up, pelvis tilts forward. Exhale, navel to spine. Load the scoop first, and then squeeze into it. Now, another part of this that I want to pay attention to is as I rotate, I don't want my legs to rotate with. I want to keep stability through my legs. If anything, I want my legs to create counter rotation so that I can really feel that ringing out effect in the spine. Then we'll go ahead and switch. Do the same thing on the other side. So again, big toe is tucked. Nice inhale into that belly. Exhale, navel to spine. Find that scoop. Hold that scoop as we continue to exhale and rotate towards that leg that is in front. Inhale, let that belly open up, sway in the back. Exhale, scoop first, and then nice rotation. One more on this side. And we're going to go ahead and switch back to the other side. And we're going to do one more round of those spirals, those rotations. But this time, I want you to find a point on the wall out in front of you and keep your eyes on it. So as we turn our shoulders, our head is not turning with, our head is maintaining a fixed point on the horizon. But everything else is going to be the same. Big toes tucked. Nice inhale into the belly. Exhale as we draw the navel in and scoop. Eyes stay fixed as we rotate. Now, notice how this feels a little different, keeping those eyes fixed on the horizon. You might feel more restriction. You might feel some more different levels of like core activation. And then we'll switch and do the same thing on the other side. Again, big toe is tucked. Nice inhale, fill up that belly. Exhale, scoop. As we rotate, keeping those eyes fixed in front. Again, notice how does this feel just a little bit different than when we let that head turn with. It should create a little bit more tension in the system. You may feel it more in the core as tightness, tension, or activation. And this is a great one to notice. Do you move better to the right side or to the left side in this movement with rotation through the spine? All right, I'm going to set the staff to the side. I'm going to come down into our shin box. I'm in my left side shin box. Left palm is coming down to the floor, spiraling that elbow pit out and away. Nice packed down shoulder, tall spine. Also letting that weight shift a little bit to the front hip so that that back hip is lifted off the floor. I don't want to try to keep that back hip touching, at least not with a weight shift. From here, we're going to breathe in, allow that breath Imagine that breath has a weight like a bowling ball, and it sinks down into that back hip, reaching that hip to the floor. Not load, not weight shifting it to the floor, but feel the breath reach to the floor. As we exhale, it's going to lift. Hip bone is moving forward, and we're actively scooping into it. This is that same idea of my sacrum is the palm, my fingertips are my tailbone, and I want to move my tailbone like I'm trying to reach out in front. If I have a hand here, I'm trying to reach and touch my hand with the tip of my tailbone. Inhale, weight into that back hip. Exhale, nice scoop. Can you feel that lengthen, stretch in the front of the hip? Can you feel that glute contract in the back? After we get a good 5 up to 10 reps, we're going to do a nice slow windshield wiper across to the other side and doing the same thing. Palm is grounded, elbow spiral, packed shoulder, tall spine, weight is shifted over so that back hip is off the floor. Breathing in, feeling that bowling ball of breath weight moving down into that back hip, reaching it to the floor. Exhale, navel comes in as we actively scoop, reaching that tailbone forward. Can you feel that through the front of that hip? Can you feel that glute start to contract? And again, notice if one side is feeling a little more restricted, tight, less range of motion. My left hip, just right at the very end range. It's tighter. I don't quite have the same level of reach. On my inhale, don't quite get as low. It does not drop quite as much. So I have some imbalances in mobility from my right hip and my left hip. That's normal for me. I do these movements in order to keep that imbalance minimal. If I don't do these movements, the imbalance becomes a lot worse. But because of my injury history, it is unlikely that I will ever truly experience balanced hips in my life again. But that, again, that's not really the point of the movement practice. Bringing it back to the first side, we're going to get into folds. Today, we're going to focus on folds through the shin. So I want to keep shoulders square with the shins. I want to keep hands square with the shoulders. Nice inhale in through the nose, filling up that crocodile breath. Exhale as we draw that navel in, sliding both hands evenly forward. By keeping my hands and shoulders square, my hands should reach evenly forward. If one hand is reaching further than the other, that means the shoulders are now rotating and we're getting rotation down into the low back. So I want to keep the hands even as I reach. Inhale as we bring it all the way back up. As I do my reach, I want to avoid dropping my head straight down to the floor, dropping chest to the floor. Nice tall spine. Let the hands slide forward. And with each one, we can see if we can go a little bit further. Inhale as we bring it all the way back. Once we do about 5 up to 10, we can switch back to the other side, doing the same thing. One quick thing to kind of note that you might notice is when you're in your shin box, both hands off the floor, bringing them forward, one side shin box might feel harder to sit tall. You might feel that your body wants to lean. That's a pretty important assessment point as well. So kind of notice that. My right side shin box is a little bit more effort for me to stay tall and for me to stay square with my shins. Again, immobility in the hips offsets my posture on this side. Nice inhale in through the nose. Exhale. We let those hands slide forward evenly. Notice if this feels tighter, more restricted on this side, or maybe it was on the other side. Definitely feeling this, some more tightness in the back of this right hip. I was feeling tightness in the front of my left hip, which again is creating that pull more towards the right. Once we get 5 to 10 reps, we're going to go back to the other side, but I want to make my transitions doing more of a floss through. So I can bring my right hand down to the floor. I'm going to lift and open that left knee towards the ceiling, and I'm imagining that there's a piece of string attached to the inside of my left knee and the inside of my right knee. So as I open, I'm drawing that string into tension. And I want to think of this like a piece of floss. I continue to open up that knee. I'm bringing my left hand to the floor, and it's going to pull my right knee off the floor. And I want to maintain tension in that string as I slowly move to the other side. And I'm keeping that right leg open until that left knee rests on the floor, and then I can carry all the way through. Fold, getting into my nice slow fold. Inhale as I bring it back up. Ground that palm. Slow open that right hip. Bring the right knee or right hand to the floor as we create that tension. Hold that tension all the way through to the other side. And we're going to go back and forth. At this point, I'm less concerned about staying square to the shin. We're going to be a little bit more exploratory at this point in our folds. But with each one, I'm seeing how far can I reach both hands evenly. Inhale, bringing it back up. Nice inhale or exhale to inhale as we do our floss through. Now that we've got a few of these back and forth, we're going to start to open up that shin box angle. So as I move across, coming back to this side, I'm going to slide that back leg open, making a bigger angle in my hips as I get into my fold. Bring it back up, let that leg slide back in so that we can do our floss through back across. Then slide that back leg open again as we get into that nice fold. We're going to do a good number of reps here. I like going about 10, can really even be closer to 20. Going nice and slow. Each one, we're going to open that leg a little bit more as we get into that fold. I like to think of this as a nice little exploration of the hips and the spine, a little bit of the shoulders, noticing how does it feel different on the right side compared to the left side. It's one side tighter and more restricted than the other. And where exactly is that tightness and restriction? Is it in the hips, front of the hips, back of the hips? Is it in the low back? Do you feel it in your breath? And the slower we move through this, the better. It's a super slow groove. You can think of this as just a really nice lubrication of the hips. And on these last few, we're going to continue to open up really as much as we can without going into pain or discomfort. We're getting closer and closer to what we would consider a yoga class pigeon pose. Once we balanced out side to side, we're now going to come up into a standing position. So we're going to do some we're going to do 6 walks, which is kind of getting into loading the feet specifically kind of loading the ligaments of the foot to build better ligament stability. It's also a nice little foot mobility. So we're going to start with just simple load and unload. So I'm letting my right foot step out away from my body and a little bit forward. And I'm only placing the ball of my big toe on the floor. I have my heel lifted up and I have the outside ball of the foot. My pinky toe side of the foot is completely off the floor. The only thing touching is the knuckle of my big toe. I'm stepped out, little step forward. I'm going to load into that big toe, allowing that knee to slightly turn in. But again, I'm keeping heel and the outside ball of the foot off the floor. And then I'm going to unload. And if we can, I want to kind of feel myself pop off that foot. If this feels unstable, then keep the foot grounded, light load and unload. But I want to make sure that you feel safe and stable. If this is something that is painful and unstable, then I would prefer that you skip this movement online and schedule a consultation with me. So I'm assuming at this point that feet are not a problem as we load and unload. I want to imagine that the foot is a spring, and I want to feel that spring absorb and that spring release with each one. We should feel a little bit of activation getting into the medial arch of the foot. Maybe it's getting, might even feel like a little bit of like muscle fatigue in that foot. After we do about 5 to 10 reps, we're going to switch and do the same thing on the other side. So again, stepping out and lightly forward. Ball of the big toe is the only thing touching the floor. Knee lightly tracks in, making sure it's not painful. And then unloading off. And again, I want to see if we can get to where we can feel that foot lightly come off the floor. And then I want to feel that nice spring. Can I load the spring, unload the spring? And how does it feel on this side? My left foot feels stiffer. I don't get as much stretch in it. I mean, it's getting there. I can feel it mobilizing a little bit. My left foot is generally tighter, related to my left hip being tighter. Once we get 5 to 10, we're now going to switch feet. Now we're going to roll. I'm stepping out and away, lightly forward again, but now I'm loading to the outside ball of the foot. Not on the big toe is not touching, heel is still not touching, and my knee is now tracking a little bit more out. But everything else is the same. Nice load and unload. Again, I want to make sure it feels safe and stable. And then I want to find that nice spring. Can I feel it absorb and release? It's going to be working a little bit more to that outside arch of the foot. Again, after we get 5 to 10 reps, switching to the other side, loading that ball of the pinky toe side, ball of the big toes off the floor. Knee is tracking out. Light load, unload. See if you can start to feel that foot lift, absorb, and release. Load the spring, unload the spring. Notice if this side, again, does one side feel a little stiffer, a little more difficult to kind of feel that load and unload. Once we get 5 to 10 reps on that side, we're going to move on to our balance, some balance work, doing some balance standing clock. So I'm starting on my right foot, going to spread the toes as wide as possible. I want to feel those toes not only spread wide, but also reach long. We're going to come into a single leg stance. And we're going to play like we're balancing on the face of a clock. And we're going to start with just reaching towards our 6 o'clock and 12 o'clock. So nice reach forward. I want to extend my knee and extend my toes as far as possible. Coming back up to tall. And then as I reach back, I want to extend the knees and reach the toes. As I extend the knees and reach the toes, I then want to see how far can I extend those toes out without losing my balance. Coming back up to tall, how far back can I reach those toes? Now, I want to try to maintain, I want to maintain perfect balance through my foot. So if that foot starts to wobble where you're not maintaining a flat foot to the floor and the big toes lifting up, pinky toes lifting up, then you're moving too far. I want to keep the movement as small as it needs to be in order to maintain perfect stability at the floor with the foot. As you build that stability up, then we can start getting bigger in our movement. We'll go ahead and switch, do the same thing on the other side. So again, spread foot, feel those toes spread forward, coming into that single leg balance. Extend the knee, point the toes forward, come back up to tall, extend the knee, point the toes back. And as we're going through that, we can then start to see how far can we reach and extend those toes out? How far can we reach and extend those toes back? Maintaining that perfect stability through the foot. If my movement gets too big and I start to lose that foot, I need to sharpen up, make my movement smaller, focus on stability. That's the more important thing we're working on, is building that stability at the foot. Go ahead and switch back to our right foot. Now we're going to work our 3 and 9 o'clock. So same idea. I want to extend the knee, point the toe out to the side, then bring it back to center. And then I'm going to reach behind, and I want to see how much can I extend the knee and point the toe as I'm reaching as much as I can to that 3 o'clock. Back up to center. Now that I can feel extending the knee, pointing the toe, now I want to see how far can I start to reach out. Inhale as I bring it back up. How far can I reach out to the side? Again, maintaining perfect stability through that foot. If you get wobbly up here, that's okay as long as you maintain stable down at the floor. That foot is wobbly. That's where we need to shrink that movement, make it more under control so you can build the stability up from the floor. And then this will get easier to balance and maintain. Then we'll go ahead and switch and do the same thing on the other side. So again, spread toes, extend toes, single leg stance, extend knees, point toes, bring it back up to center, reaching behind, point toes, extend that knee, bring it back up. Now with each one, we can slowly extend that knee out further, seeing how far can we reach away and still get back up to center. How far can we reach across? Point, extend, bring it back up. Notice if one foot, one side feels more stable. Can you get bigger ranges? Can you reach further on one leg than you can on the other? We'll go ahead and come back. We're going to come down to the floor on our back, feet flat to the floor. We're going to make nice big C shapes with our hands. Thumbs in the back, index fingers in the front, hands underneath the rib cage and above the hip bones in that nice meaty section. Getting into finishing with some crocodile breath. Nice inhale through the nose. Fill up that abdominal wall like a balloon. Exhale, drawing navel into spine. Let the hands clench down a little bit so that you have more resistance for that next inhale breath. And as you inflate that balloon, see if you can feel that inflation push into your index fingers through the belly, into your thumbs in the low back, and into the palms, pushing out through the side. Can you feel that balloon expand in all directions? On that inhale, exhale, navel to spine. Feel your shoulders soften down on that exhale. Inhale, try to keep the shoulder tension light as you focus that expansion through the abdominal wall. And with each one, see if you can get that expansion to be a little bigger. Can you blow that balloon up a little bit more? We're going to drop our hands down, palms are up, shoulders relaxed to the floor. Starting to bring that breath up into the ribs. Same idea of expanding like a balloon. So feel it expand into the chest, into the upper back, into the floor, and out through the side of the ribs. And on the exhale, let any tension in the neck, shoulders, back, hips, let that tension just melt to the floor. Breathe into tension, expanding, filling, tensing. Exhale, let the tension go. If you feel a lot of tension in the neck and the shoulders, and you're feeling some of that tension release with each exhale, you can spend a few more minutes taking in nice slow breaths, nice slow exhales, letting that tension go with each exhale. I want to be soft with the tension, but at the same time, I do want to breathe in and feel it so that I can let it go. So I know what it is that I'm allowing to just rinse off, melt away, not letting it stack up in my body. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes, slowly get up, take your time, make sure you're not dizzy or lightheaded before you come up to a seated or a standing position.